Like many other secretive protagonists, besides going to school like a normal student, this young man also works as a part-time assassin at night. Yesterday, Kai stayed up all night chasing KPIs and people's lives. Today, he has to get up early for school, making him incredibly tired. Kai entered the classroom like any other day, and his classmate Midu cheerfully greeted him. He is student number 35 in the class, the star player of the soccer club, and also the class president. Kai briefly returned the greeting, then pulled out a chair, sat down, and immediately rested his head on the desk, refusing to talk further. Midu also felt a bit awkward. At that moment, another female student pushed her way in. She was Naga Serena, student number 22, a trendy standout girl among the classmates with a haughty and arrogant personality. She told Midu not to bother greeting someone as rude as Kai. Midu gave an awkward smile and replied, "Kai's probably just too tired to respond." Just then, the door suddenly swung open and Arashi Sasuke walked in. He is the epitome of rudeness, student number 1, and the leader of a notorious local crime gang. When Arashi entered the classroom, his underlings had to bow to him. He looked around, saw Kai sleeping at the back of the class, and went over to pick a fight. Arashi approached, but Kai still didn't react. He was still snoring loudly. Arashi angrily cursed, "You idiot, aren't you listening to me?" Arashi reached out to grab Kai to wake him, but Kai grabbed his wrist. Kai yawned tiredly and stared, asking Arashi what he wanted. Arashi got even more furious and yelled for Kai to let go of his hand. He was controlled by some invisible force, unable to move. Kai finally woke up a bit and let go of Arashi's hand. Arashi clicked his tongue, pulling back his hand, muttering curses, calling Kai a damn weirdo. Then someone appeared, telling Arashi, "Shut the hell up, you yap too much." This person was Kanaki Jin, student number 8, both beautiful and talented in literature and martial arts, a top beauty at school with a cold and distant aura. Arashi was about to pick a new target for his troublemaking and asked, "Reina, what the hell are you babbling about again?" Suddenly someone stepped in to stop him. This person was the serious discipline vice president, very concerned about order, student number 29, Hashimoto Mirei. She told Arashi to stop causing trouble. Another young man with striking hair kindly advised Mirei, "Don't worry about other people's business. Be careful or Arashi might punch you." This guy was Narumi Yoshida, student number 23, shallow and frivolous, just like his appearance. Meanwhile, Kai had already nodded off again at some point. Seeing that too many people were watching, Arashi annoyedly pulled out a chair and sat down, casually propping his feet on the desk. Everyone had gathered. It was time to start class. This was Shinzo High School first-year class 2. Today was just another typical day in class with a lot going on. Kai, still asleep, suddenly sensed something. He saw a circle of light appear at Midu feet. The circle grew larger, engulfing the entire classroom. The students in class noticed and started to panic. Midu instructed everyone to quickly run out of the classroom. But with Kai's keen eye, he knew it was a hopeless attempt to outrun the blue circle that sucked all the class members inside. When they woke up, the whole group was in an unfamiliar place. Kai looked around, assessing the situation. They were in a stone building with many large pillars for cover, and there was only one exit. It was hard to believe, but it seemed like they had been swallowed by white light and dumped somewhere else. Other students gradually woke up, all confused and unsure of who they were or where they were. Class President Midu reassured everyone, "Stay calm, things will settle soon. First, we need to check if everyone is okay." Kai silently praised her and called out, "Good job, Midu. You might help keep the class calm." Arashi didn't want to waste time either. He ordered 2 underlings to follow him and check out what was going on here. Kai spoke up to stop Arashi. There were footsteps behind the door. He could hear 2 people, one male and one female. The students began focusing their attention on the door behind them. The door opened. As expected, there were 2 people, an old man and an older woman. The woman warmly greeted the class members. After seeing the woman, the students were all amazed and whispered, "This woman is stunning, like a cosplay of a medieval knight and princess." Meanwhile, the old man with the stature of a swordsman had been quietly observing the situation from behind. That old man isn't just cosplaying, he's actually strong. The white-haired Lady Kai also has some muscles, but she looks pretty normal. The white-haired Lady Kai spoke up to introduce herself. She is Leonora, the Archbishop of the Holy Kingdom of Digaret. The old man beside her is Gaius, her knight and bodyguard. Arashi angrily pointed at her and asked, "You want to start something?" He had never heard of the country that Lady Kai just mentioned. Leonora smiled calmly. She understood what the people here thought about this. Class President Midu stepped forward to ask what was going on here. Leonora explained the situation. She was the one who summoned the class members to this parallel world. They are humanity's hope to fight the demon lord as the world's hero candidates. The class members still didn't quite understand. Lady Kai spat out some nonsense. Gaius, standing beside her, gave Arashi a warning glare. "Watch your mouth and don't talk like that." Leonora is the saint of this country. Arashi didn't care about that. He was ready to fight back immediately. He told Gaius, "Shut up or I'll get mad." Gaius might be old, but he was still fierce. He was ready to draw his sword and fight. Leonora stopped Gaius from doing so. Gaius refused to listen. He had to teach Arashi what a real fight is. Arashi didn't respect age or kindness. He charged straight into the fight. Meanwhile, Kai silently observed. He had to admit Arashi was really brave. He didn't hesitate when facing someone wielding a sword right by his side. Arashi was confident because he had fought people with weapons before. As long as he dodged the first strike and got close fighting bare-handed was still an advantage. The scenario looked great in theory, but in practice it was a whole different story. Before Arashi could even touch a single hair of Gaius, Gaius slashed his sword across Arashi's head. A long cut appeared on Arashi's forehead with blood flowing. He froze and broke out in sweat. He didn't see anything. The sword moved on its own. Gaius cut a strand of Arashi's hair as a warning to the other students. "Next time, don't mess with the dog." The dog licked its lips. Leonora told Gaius to sheathe his sword, saying the warning was enough. She apologized on behalf of Gaius for his actions. They didn't intend to harm anyone. Leonora began explaining everything about this world and why the students are here. She silently opened her eyes and looked at the students with contempt, telling them to be quiet first. Leonora apologized to the class members for Gaius's aggressive behavior. She started explaining that because of the Demon Lord's invasion, humanity in this world might become extinct. As they said, their country, the Holy Kingdom of Digress, has been resisting continuously, but lacks the strength to stop the invasion entirely. The only thing left of humanity and their last hope are the students, the hero candidates. At this point, the students realized Leonora wanted their help to defeat the Demon Lord. Some students in the class seemed unwilling. They said they might be able to do it after reincarnation, but they've never fought before in this life. Besides, some female students cried non-stop, wanting to go back to their old world. Gaius threw cold water on that, saying they can't return unless they defeat the Demon Lord. The students were terrified and stunned. Kai, who was standing behind the pillar, silently assessed the situation, ignoring whether the information was true or not. Maybe Gaius said that to motivate them. Still, people who've always lived peaceful lives like these students won't suddenly start killing. So they need experience and, above all, talent. Arashi, after being slashed once, still didn't back down. He faced Leonora and Gaius. Kai didn't hold back and called them bastards. They called everyone here recklessly, and now expect them to be quiet and obedient. Arashi accepted it, calling them animals that walk on 4 legs. Gaius glanced at Arashi, assessing that his fighting spirit was still intact. He could become a useful warrior, but could also cause trouble. He drew his sword from his side, intending to send Arashi to the afterlife right then and there. However, Leonora was extremely gentle as she used her healing skills to treat the wounds on Arashi's face. She looked very remorseful for Gaius's actions. Arashi's facial wounds gradually healed, surprising all the other students. Leonora explained that the power she used was he. They used this power, granted by their god, Digress, momentarily creating a new phenomenon in the world. Simply put, it's magic. A thought flashed through Guy's mind. Leonora knows their culture, so maybe this isn't the first time she has summoned people from another world. Leonora approached Midu and placed her hand on his forehead. Immediately his hand glowed and a sword appeared in it. Leonora explained that hero candidates can harness the power of this he and awaken the innate abilities of the divine guardian. Leonora clenched her hands, trembling pitifully. She suddenly called everyone here, and now the students can't go back. She knew this was a selfish request. Leonora bowed and asked the students to lend her their strength. Midu, the one who had just received power, still hesitated. No matter how much power Leonora gave them, they still couldn't fight immediately. Leonora understood that and told the students they would definitely need training for a while, and during this time their country would take care of them. Midu accepted and turned to rally the class. He knew the students were all scared, but to survive here, they first needed information and protection. He was certain the Divine Guardian would be useful when they faced difficulties. He thought that now they should listen to Leonora and Gaius. Many students in the class agreed after hearing Midu say this. Leonora bowed in thanks to the students and smiled quietly. She handed out the Divine Guardians to each person in the class. Class Discipline Vice President Hashimoto Mire received a remote-controlled Divine Guardian. Arashi received the explosive Divine Guardian. Many other students in the class also received Divine Guardians. Leonora looked around and asked if anyone still hadn't received a Divine Guardian. At that moment, Kai slowly stepped forward and raised his hand, saying he hadn't received one. Leonora touched Kai and gave him a Divine Guardian. Kai felt a tingling sensation as his vision gradually changed. Leonora stood before him, and above her head appeared a stats board showing her personal attributes. Kai's eyes glowed red. Leonora recognized this as a rather rare evaluation-type Divine Guardian. This power allows the user to see information about their target. After the explanation, Kai began testing it on himself, and indeed his own stats appeared. Kai started to understand that this Divine Guardian worked like a status screen in a game, but it was easier to understand. Suddenly, Kai spun and jumped to the side to dodge an attack from Arashi. Arashi, confident with his explosive Divine Guardian, dared to attack Kai. Arashi and the other students looked down on Kai, thinking the cheap Divine Guardian he got was useless, except for making his eyes glow red. Kai didn't care. He just wondered why these students were so overconfident and aggressive. They didn't have enough information to know what was useful and what wasn't. After all, the Divine Guardian is just borrowed power. No one knows when it might suddenly stop working. Kai wasn't worried. He had many other ways to kill. After Leonora distributed Divine Guardians to all the students, she told everyone to rest. Training would begin tomorrow. Later that evening, the hero candidates were taken to private rooms. Kai waited until late at night, then climbed out a window to sneak out. He wanted to gather some information before going to sleep. He sneaked behind 2 patrolling soldiers to eavesdrop. This was the 3rd time he encountered soldiers. From what he heard, they were strengthening defenses. Kai activated his Divine Guardian to observe the soldiers' skills, but it seemed their only skill was swordsmanship. He thought they might use he or something else to detect him, but apparently not everyone here could use divine power. After the 2 soldiers passed, he used extreme speed to slip away. He had grasped most of the geography of this castle. Now this fortress city was typically surrounded by walls. Kai walks up to the castle. He's quite curious about what's inside, but it's heavily guarded and built very solidly, so sneaking in is difficult. Kai thinks coming here today is enough. He'll come back another day to scout around. As he was about to leave, he ran into some classmates wandering on the grass field. The 3 girls had come out here with the purpose of practicing divine protection. Kai hid to the side, watching the 3 girls train. He was always curious about the divine protection of the Lord. He decided to stand and watch for a while to see how it went. Suddenly, Kai sensed something on the other side of the grass field making noise. The 3 girls also noticed a monster emerging. The 3 girls panicked and got scared out of their wits. Kai maintained a silent stance in the bushes. He had never seen a creature like that before. It looked like a lizard. He activated his assessment. This lizard belonged to the lizard species. Its stats were worlds apart compared to the 3 girls. The lizard took a breath and roared. The 3 girls ran for their lives. The lizard chased closely behind. Kai jumped onto a rock to get a better assessment. This lizard species was aggressive by nature and didn't hesitate to attack humans. It moved fast on 4 legs but only ran in straight lines. But it seemed to lack intelligence. Its skin looked tough, so Kai wasn't sure if a knife would be effective. Kai took a knife from his sleeve and tried throwing it at its skin. The lizard growled. It paused. Kai quickly slipped behind a tree. It seemed the knife had some effect even if it was just a shallow cut. The 3 girls kept running desperately on the other side. Suddenly, a girl named Rena tripped over a rock and fell face first. Just as she was getting up, the monster was standing right behind her. The lizard raised its leg to strike Rena when suddenly a knife came out of nowhere and hit the lizard's head. The lizard collapsed on the spot. The other 2 girls hurried over to help Rena. They didn't dare stay any longer and hurriedly left. Kai breathed out behind the tree. Finally, they were gone. He had no reason to save them, but leaving them behind went against his conscience too much. Kai approached the lizard and pulled a knife out of its body. So there were monsters like this wandering all over this world. It seemed things here wouldn't be so easy after all. Suddenly, Kai felt something again. He jumped off the lizard's body and looked around. It seemed like someone was nearby. He should head back too. Kai instantly teleported back. The one he sensed was standing behind a rock somewhere. The man wore a cloak from head to toe. He approached the lizard. He stomped on its head. Blood splattered all over the black cloak. He was very disappointed to see that all the hero candidates were useless and weak. But Kai didn't seem to be a pushover either. The man in black licked the blood on his face. He felt extremely interested. The next day, the lizard's corpse was discovered. Everyone fell into deep thought. Some female students even had tears in their eyes, frightened. Mage Steady came to examine the monster's corpse. After some inspection, she concluded there were traces of spell usage, probably from a common demon. Maybe they were scouting to see how strong the hero faction was. Kai still hid in a corner, listening. He didn't know if spell and magic were different. Midu asked Teddy to confirm if this monster was controlled by a demon or something. Teddy praised him for being sharp. Strong demons could use curses to manipulate and control weaker monsters. Teddy was first explained by the Demon Lord. Monsters referred to creatures transformed by mana until they became unusually fierce and strong, and mana was the paranoia power created by gods and demons. In other words, it was the power used by demon lords and demons. So of course demons could easily defeat humans. Guys felt dizzy hearing this. He told Teddy to stop and dragged him away. The plan was maybe to use Steady to gather more information. The bigger issue was that this thing was being controlled by something else. So the identity of the one Kai sensed must be a demon, and it must be very powerful, because Kai barely recognized it for a moment. If it were around them right now, it probably wouldn't have been detected. The thought just flashed briefly. Kai felt an invisible pressure. Someone was looking this way. Arashi stepped forward to provoke Gaius again. They can't return to their world unless they kill the Demon Lord, and he wasn't planning to stay in this cursed world for long. Female student Kanaki Jin agreed with what Arashi said. It was the first time she heard him speak human language. Midu thought the same. If they want to go back to their old world, the only choice is probably to fight the monsters. Some female students in the class began to cry softly, trembling with fear. Kai looked at them. Finally, they realized this was no game. Fighting means struggling to the death no matter which world you're in. It's best if they quickly learn how to gain power to protect themselves. Leonora comforted the students not to be too afraid. They just don't know how to use their powers yet. All they have to do now is train. The students here were chosen from other worlds as hero candidates. Their development speed is different from the locals here. And a week passed since the students began training. Kai rooted himself in the library researching books. He flipped through the pages. Now he could understand every letter. It was strange that they could talk with Leonora and Gaius from the start, despite not knowing the language here. Kai looked out the window. The other students were training. He was told that his combat evaluation skill wasn't divine protection, so he wasn't trained for fighting but was allowed into the library. Kai stood up. He had exhausted all the history and culture books of this world. It seemed there was no information about demons here either. He went outside and stood in a corner watching the students train. Just as Leonora said, the students were developing at an astonishing rate. The 5 strongest among them were Narumi, Arashi, Kanaki, Hashimoto, and Nagas. However, there was another person with extraordinary development speed. That was Midu. Soon his sword skills surpassed Kai's trainer. Using his observation skill to check Midu's stats from just a week ago, his ratings ranged mostly from D to F. The speed was dizzying even though he was a genius. Maybe the divine protection of the Lord also directly affected things beyond just strength. After training, the students left in a line. They passed by where Kai was standing, pointing and mocking him. Kai didn't bother to respond. These people were still idiots as before. Others were also looking down on him. They grew more shameless after gaining power. A student in the class raised his hand to grab Kai's head, but by some force that student suddenly fell flat on the ground. Kai acted like he didn't know what happened and asked why he suddenly fell. The other fell on his back, staring at the sky, not understanding what was happening. Arashi felt embarrassed and told the guy to stop fooling around. Guys, here they come. Leonora and Gaius walked over together. Leonora seemed very pleased with the students' progress. The students were developing much faster than she expected, so she decided to bring the plan forward. Leonora wanted the students to train fighting monsters. The students all broke out in sweat after hearing that. The students followed Leonora and Gaius into the forest. The first drill would take place here. This place was harsh, so the students couldn't go in groups. Gaius told the students to split into groups of 2 or 3. The students began to form groups. Nagas Midu and a blonde girl formed a team. Arashi teamed up with his brothers. Narumi and Hashimoto teamed up together. The other students gradually formed teams. Only Kanaki and Kai were left alone as 2 individuals. reluctantly had to form a team together. No one wanted to team up with Kanaki, probably because they were afraid. No one liked her either. She was confident and indifferent. Also, she was proud, and seemed like she wouldn't let anyone stand in her way. After the students finished forming teams, Leonora excitedly announced that because this was a special occasion, the team that defeated the most monsters would receive a surprise gift. The first practice match began. Kai and Kanaki entered the forest together. Kanaki arrogantly told Kai not to get in her way. She didn't need him to do anything, just not to block her path. Her guardian spirit was stronger than the others. Kai wasn't one to overwork himself. He let Kanaki handle things. Kanaki flipped her hair and muttered, criticizing Kai for having no pride. Kai decided to observe Kanaki's combat skills first. He sensed 4 presences nearby. They were surrounding them. A dwarf demon jumped out to block their path. It charged forward holding a spear. Kanaki used her guardian spirit to command the monster to lie down. The monster sank into the ground. Kanaki's guardian spirit was the Dominator, a power that forces targets to obey commands. Kai looked around, turning left and right. He said it seemed there were still a few monsters nearby. Kanaki ordered the dwarf demon from before to drop its weapon, put its hands behind its back. She had only given 2 commands so far. Kanaki was sweating heavily. Using this guardian spirit too long would tire her out. Kai understood it would consume mana if used a lot. He told Kanaki to quickly kill that dwarf demon. More monsters were coming. Kanaki shivered upon hearing this. She had never killed anyone before. This demon even looked somewhat human. Kai coldly glanced. So what if it looked human, that monster tried to attack them, so these were their enemies? There was no reason to spare them. Kanaki stammered, saying she knew. Kai clenched the stone in his hand. Although Kanaki had power, she was still an inexperienced student from Japan. Things had been peaceful before. The only important thing now was whether she could make the right choice when facing danger. The other dwarf demons arrived. They growled and advanced toward the 2. Kanaki used her guardian spirit to order the newly arrived dwarf demons to lie down. Kai asked what she planned to do now. Kanaki, exhausted, told him not to just stand there but to help her quickly. Kai seemed reluctant to help. Wasn't she the one who said earlier he didn't need to do anything? Kanaki was speechless. She had to act on her own. She ordered the monsters to twist their own necks. The controlled dwarf demons killed themselves on the spot. Kai realized Kanaki could also give that kind of command. The harder the command, the lower the success rate. Kanaki began to feel nauseous. Fighting and seeing dead bodies like this was a bit overwhelming. She was wrong to think this would be easy. Some don't face any mental obstacles at all. These attacked them, so they were enemies. It didn't matter whether they were monsters or humans. You had to kill your enemies. To survive, that's necessary. Kanaki found it strange how Kai could stay so calm. He didn't even have power. Kai approached the dwarf demons to see if there was any new information. He asked Kanaki what to do now. They could go on or turn back if she was scared. Kanaki resisted, flicked her hair, and turned away. Of course they would go on. Although Kanaki was trying to act brave, Kai could still tell. But even so, her personality wasn't that bad. The 2 of them could fight together. Narumi's group got chased and had their pants pulled down by a monster. They thought the monsters here were weak, so they picked a fight. But instead of scaring the dogs, they got chased by them. Narumi and Hashimoto realized running wasn't the answer, so they stopped and used their guardian spirits to attack together. Their combined attacks of wind and thrown stones were like mosquito bites on stainless steel against the bear. It was nothing. Kanaki silently resolved to definitely return to the old world. She still hadn't repaid the kindness of the man who raised her. Now she really wants to show him how much she has grown and make him happy. Lost in thought, Kai asks Kanaki if she's going on and not afraid of getting lost. Kanaki says going straight can't lead to getting lost, but Kai thinks otherwise. If Kanaki thinks that way, she's underestimating this forest. Every time Kanaki says something, Kai shoots it down. No wonder she's annoyed. Shut the hell up. Who the hell do you think you are to be so full of yourself? The 2 keep walking and suddenly hear a loud scream. Kanaki recognizes the voice as Hashimoto's. Kai asks what they should do next. Kanaki doesn't hesitate and offers to help Kai. Didn't expect her to be so kind. Nearby, Hashimoto and Narumi. Hashimoto is seriously injured by a bear and falls to the ground. She tells Narumi to run ahead and not to worry. Narumi isn't the type to just run away like that. He can't just leave Hashimoto behind. The 2 struggle to keep going when the bear swings at Kanaki. She manages to use a guardian spirit to command the bear to stop. The bear tries to break free. Kanaki knows she can't hold it for long and tells Narumi and Hashimoto to run. The bear follows closely. Just as expected, Kanzaki's power has varying effects depending on the number of targets. He asks if Narumi is still alive. Narumi seems okay. Kai tells him to quickly carry Hashimoto and get out of there. Narumi initially wants to stay and help, but Hashimoto is badly injured, so he has to carry her away first. After the others leave, Kai uses his guardian spirit to assess the bear. This bear is an armored bear species. All its stats are very high, especially defense. Its fur looks tough too. Kai's attacks probably can't break through it. Kanaki is sweating. She can't hold on any longer. Kai tells her she's held well enough and to run now. Kanaki intends to, but her legs won't move anymore. She's exhausted and her legs tremble as if drugged. The bear is freed and moves closer to Kanaki. Kai has no choice but to blindly pull out a smoke bomb and throw it at the bear. He takes the chance to carry Kanaki away. They hide behind a tree. Kai tells her to stay quiet so the bear won't hear. Kanaki finally notices their surroundings. She asks what the smoke just now was. He says it's a smoke bomb he made while others trained their guardian spirits. Kai's just bluffing a bit. Actually, he already had some devices on him before being summoned. Since they're limited, he doesn't want to waste them. These are basic assassin tools. Kanaki suddenly feels extremely guilty. She went to help others, but put them in danger instead. Kai says she doesn't need to apologize. He's the one who should be thanked. Kanaki shyly says thank you. Kai douses her with cold water. If she's always that meek, everyone will really love her. Kanaki, embarrassed as if she stepped on a tail, snaps angrily. Kai tells her to be quiet so the bear won't know. Kanaki now fully notices the situation. She asks what they should do if they should run. Kai says no need because right then Midu's group of 3 arrives. Midu activates his demon-slaughtering sword ready to solo the bear. Midu and the bear clash. He slashes and injures one of the bear's arms. However, its skin is too tough. Midu's slash doesn't do much damage. Nagas tells Midu to step back. She shoots fire at the bear. The bear roars loudly, burned by the flames. Nagas smugly thinks the game is easy. But before she can gloat for 3 seconds, the bear quickly blows out the fire. It's unharmed and seems even more energetic than before. Nagas panics and shouts. Midu tells her to stay calm. The attack surely had some effect. Now the bear moves slower than before. He tells the other 2 to stay calm and take down the bear together. The 2 girls obey. The 3 coordinate to fight the bear. Nearby, a suspicious man wearing a black cloak watches everything. He is the former demon assassin Delphix, observing the whole situation. At this moment, the armored bear probably can't take down all the students yet. Their rapid progress and above all their calmness are extremely impressive. Delphix highly praises Midu. At such a young age, he's already skilled. Although this is just a reconnaissance mission, it's time for him to change plans. He will finish off Midu's group right here. Meanwhile, the 3 Midu members coordinate to seriously injure the bear. Dio-Fish draws his sword, intending to pull a dirty trick, but suddenly he feels something cold behind him. Turning around, he sees Kai pointing a knife at his neck, having done so unnoticed. Kai looks at Delphix with murderous eyes. If you know what's good for you, shut up. Didn't anyone tell you the biggest mistake an enemy makes is when he kills someone else? Delphix drops his weapon to the ground and raises both hands to surrender. He sweats profusely, not realizing when Kai snuck behind him. Delphix quietly calculates how to escape. But before the thought even crosses his mind, Kai slashes and breaks both of Delphix's legs. He falls face first onto the ground. Kai presses the knife across his neck, warning him not to scream loudly. Neither of them wants Midu's group to notice. Kai begins to interrogate him, telling Delphix if he answers honestly, he'll be released. But Delphix stubbornly refuses to cooperate. Kai continues negotiating. He is a figure from the shadows from another world, an eerie presence. He wonders if the Delphix in front of him is the same one from yesterday. He isn't sure. Kai glares at Delphix, intimidating him. He knows they've been observing the student group for a long time. Although they've been hiding well, so he used Midu's group and waited for them to show themselves. Delphix is stunned. He never expected that everything from the start was part of Kai's plan. Kai knows he hasn't been in this world long, so his information is limited. Therefore, he asks Delphix to tell everything he knows about the demons. Delphix sneers stubbornly and refuses to speak. Without hesitation, Kai slashes and severs both of his hands. Delphix painfully spits out saliva, feeling choked and bitter. He refuses to accept being led around by a kid like this. Gritting his teeth, blood immediately flows from all the wounds on his face. Delphix has poisoned himself to commit suicide. Kai sighs. Even in this situation, he still carried poison. They really think ahead. The Devil Lord's army is even more complicated than you think. Suddenly there's a noise on the other side. Someone is coming. It's Kanaki. She trembles as she looks at Delphix's corpse lying on the ground. Kai asks her when she started observing. Kanaki awkwardly says she began watching after Delphix fell. Kai explains that Delphix is an assassin for the Devil Lord's army. That bear monster was already this man's pawn from early on. And when Nagas and the others were attacked by monsters, it was also because of him. Clearly, the Devil Lord's army is trying to kill the hero candidates. Kanaki realizes this and asks Kai how he could detect the assassin. No one else noticed. Kai thinks there's no reason to keep hiding it anymore. He decides to reveal his identity to Kanaki. His whole family are assassins, so he can sense who the assassin is. Kanaki is startled. She can't believe it. Kai simply explains, telling her to believe it or not, but the corpse on the ground is real. Kai reminds Kanaki not to tell anyone what she just saw. The class is already unstable because of Hashimoto's condition, so they can't cause more chaos. Kanaki nods in agreement. She didn't think Kai was unusually kind. Looking at him, she didn't think he cared about his classmates. Kai turns away. The students in the class are not like him. They've never fought before. Kanzaki's intelligence might be useful in the future. The two return to regroup with the class. Hashimoto is being treated by student number 34, Honosori, using the recovery spirit. The recovery spirit works, and soon Hashimoto's wounds gradually disappear. Narumi is also very worried about his friend. He breathes a sigh of relief hearing Hashimoto will recover in half an hour. Narumi turns to praise Midu again, saying he's really amazing. That bear was so strong, yet he still took it down. Midu modestly denies taking all the credit, saying it was thanks to the help of others. Kai was still cosplaying as the invisible man standing in another corner. This time Kanaki kept staring at him for no reason. Just then Leonora and Gaius also arrived. They had been observing the students fighting monsters all along. Narumi questioned them why they didn't help. Gaius coldly replied, always saving them makes training ineffective. Pushing fate to the brink of death is a fundamental part of real drills. Gaius looked at a group of students and declared from now on, that's how they must fight. Don't complain pointlessly. Midu questioned him why such a strong monster appeared here. Didn't he say there were only weak monsters here? Leonora interrupted to explain maybe the armored demon assassin bear isn't supposed to live in this area. Perhaps that guy is on a reconnaissance mission to test the combat strength of the hero candidates. If so, there's a chance he's hiding somewhere right now. They need to strengthen defenses. Leonora said from now on the training difficulty will increase. At this current level, the students would be worn out before even fighting. The students started to fear their fighting spirit waning. Midu again spoke up, representing the people. He wouldn't accept such nonsense. The students were already shaken after the first battle. There's no way to increase difficulty further. Leonora smiled, staring at Midu, declaring he'd surely die if he didn't comply. She said Midu was left speechless. Arashi boldly stepped forward to question. First Leonora dragged them here, now she's ordering them around. What kind of attitude is this? Just after speaking, Arashi immediately faced a counter. Gaius blocked in front of him, glaring fiercely. All the students here are Leonora's pawns. Never think you can argue back. The students were stunned, but Arashi was furious. If not for Midu stopping him, he would have lunged to bite Gaius's head off. Arashi asked Midu how he could stay so calm. Midu advised him to think carefully. If they don't obey now, this country will become their enemy. They have no chance of winning. Gaius praised Midu, impressed. Calmly grasping the situation quickly. He turned away, saying the students are just pawns. The important thing is they won't do harm if the students behave. Arashi got even angrier after hearing the warning. This country will become their enemy. Bring it on, I'll take on the whole country. Arashi activated his divine guardian and punched Gaius. He didn't have time to defend and took the full hit. Arashi thought he had succeeded and felt proud. Unexpectedly, Gaius wasn't harmed a bit. He swung a punch straight to Arashi's face, sending him flying and rolling on the ground. Gaius coldly looked down with contempt. At this level of strength, he's no match. Leonora and Gaius left, announcing training difficulty would increase tomorrow. The juniors helped Arashi up. He was bleeding heavily from nose and mouth. Arashi was furious, muttering as he asked a lot about Gaius's parents. How could he accept this the day after the military drill the students gathered again? Today's class was led by monster researcher Steady. She asked if anyone injured yesterday was okay. Hashimoto raised his hand, saying he was fine thanks to Ono's healing magic. He was still alive. Steady was pleased and praised it was wonderful to have someone with healing divine guardian. Steady began explaining today's training. She led the students into her research facility. Today, the students would fight the monsters here. The door opened and the students lined up entering inside. There were many different monsters, all locked in cages. From low-level social outcasts like Goblin to large ones like Oxer, all kinds were here. They were all monsters raised for Steady's research projects. Her research institute was a perfect place for training sessions. Steady was also very satisfied with her institute. She feels happy because she can collect combat data from the monsters. And so the combat drill begins. Kai, as usual, stands far away observing. Everyone in the class is surprisingly calm. Even though they were suddenly forced to fight, he guesses that yesterday's experience had a big impact on the students. Still, maybe they are a little scared. On the other side, Naga's was just knocked down by the giant brain monster. Midu quickly shouted to Steady to stop the monster. This one is too strong for Naga's. Steady remains calm as ever. Leonora says she needs to be even stricter with the students. She doesn't think that monster is too strong. Hero candidates with guardian spirits shouldn't lose to a monster of that rank. On the other side, Naga's also stood up, starting to get annoyed. Burning with spirit, he called out fire to burn the brain. The most important thing in battle is willpower. Anyway, these things should be easy for the students. The only thing stopping the students from feeling that way is their worry. Hesitant Teddy continues patiently explaining to Midu. If the students can increase the level of their guardian spirits, they can create many different variations of them. Kai has overheard a bit. He approaches Midu and tells him, according to Kai's guess, Midu has a new guardian spirit. The stats appearing before Kai's eyes show that he has an additional new guardian spirit. A level 1. Kamikaze monster attack guardian spirit. Midu asks Teddy's opinion to try it out immediately. He steps into the arena to try activating the monster-slaying sword along with the kamikaze monster attack. The monster gasps in fear when it sees the glowing sword in Midu's hand. Scared, Midu decisively grabs the sword and stabs straight at the monster. The monster raises its hand to shield itself in fear, and one of its arms flies off. Midu slashes again, cutting off the monster's head. The other students in the class start getting fired up, cheering and applauding. Kai remains silent like an outsider. He judges that with Midu's current condition, he won't have trouble getting past Iron Bear's defense. He wonders if his guess is right and if he should create a new guardian spirit for himself. Kai looks around. He recognizes that someone has a new guardian spirit, even Arashi, although it's hard to tell. But he doesn't want to go tell that guy. Kai concludes that they can expand the power of their guardian spirits. He guesses he can't just rely on his old techniques in this world. He has to get better, too. At night, Arashi and his friends hold a strategy meeting. Arashi's plan is to first take out Gaius, then tie up Leonora, and make her tell them how to return to the old world. Arashi's 2 underlings are excited. That means they will be able to leave this monster world and won't have to worry about being summoned here again if they take care of Leonora too. Arashi persuades Narumi to cooperate. Narumi hesitates a bit, unsure if they can win. Narumi grits his teeth. Although he knows it's the way back to the old world, killing is still wrong. He thinks about the time Hashimoto almost died at the hands of the Iron Bear. Narumi resolves to cooperate with Arashi. The next day, the students continue training. Kai approaches Midu and asks why he's training so hard. Midu replies that he's still too weak, so he has to do his best to become stronger. Kai thinks Midu could already defeat half the knights in this country. But Midu feels it's still not enough. He still can't defeat Gaius and isn't strong enough to protect everyone no matter what happens. Kai asks Midu what he thinks about Leonora and Gaius. He answers that he knows they want to use the students as pawns in their war, but he doesn't think those two are lying when they say they won't do anything if the students obey. Kai asks if Midu will really bet his life and fight until the Demon Lord is defeated. Midu decides he will, but he will be the only one fighting. He will become the hero of this country and defeat the Demon Lord. That's why he tries to compromise and make sure everyone else will live safely. I think Midu's script is good, but you're not sure if Leonora agrees. Midu is full of confidence that he will wield this sword and make her agree. After the students finish training, Leonora and Gaius go to Steady. They rush over happily like a tail-wagging dog. Nagas asks Leonora and Gaius where the two of them have been when they weren't here. Leonora calmly replies that they will have to be away for a few days, which is why she asked Steady to look after the students during this time. After announcing this, Leonora and Gaius leave. Steady smirks with a sly grin. The two get into the carriage. Gaius asks Leonora if this decision is the right one. Leonora feigns ignorance. Gaius gets straight to the point. He knows Arashi is plotting something. Leonora calmly drinks her tea. She knows a rebellion is brewing against them. She's curious about what the students might be planning, but doesn't bother to take them seriously. Still, Gaius is a bit worried. He knows the students are showing their strengths, but they are still hero candidates. Though unlikely if they try to rise up in rebellion, it could become a big problem. Leonora isn't worried at all. She's extremely confident the students can't defeat her and plans to use this opportunity to establish a hierarchy system. Then they will crush this rebellion and break the students' fangs once and for all. Despite some suspicious things for now, they'll just let it be. At night, Kai sneaks out again to play. He hunts monster after monster, taking about 13 seconds to kill each lizard-type monster. Kai activates his ability to self-evaluate his own stats. He thought he leveled up after killing that demon assassin Devilfish, but he still doesn't know how to effectively use this Guardian evaluation ability. The spinning dodge to avoid the punch from the ogre aimed at him. He jumps to the side and throws 3 knives at the monster, but all 3 knives fail to pierce its skin. He jumps again to dodge the attack. Kai thinks this is the perfect time to try his new skill. He activates the Guardian's weak point detection. He identifies the ogre's weak spot at the back of its neck. Kai doesn't hesitate to jump up and throw a knife at that spot. The knife pierces through blood splatters and the ogre falls dead. Now Kai's Guardian has leveled up once more. It allows him to see the weakest part on a giant monster's body, in other words, weak point recognition. This isn't a bad skill, but for him it's still not enough. He needs more to survive in this world. He needs to be stronger. Kai continues practicing his weak point detection skill. He throws several knives at once and takes down a group of goblins. Their weak points are the brain and heart. So this skill isn't really effective against normal monsters. He needs a bigger test subject. Kai thinks maybe he should find another monster. Suddenly he hears footsteps nearby. Someone is coming. He turns around and sees it's Kanaki. He asks her what she's doing out here at night. Kanaki says she came looking for him because she didn't find him in the dorm. She guessed he might be here, so she came to find him. Kai sighs and reminds Kanaki that this forest is very dangerous at night. She should go back. He's used to the dark, but Kanaki is different. Fighting monsters in the dark isn't like during the day. Kanaki tells Kai to shut up and asks what he's doing here. Kai replies he's testing a new guardian. Steady said they might get new guardians if theirs level up. Kanaki ponders and asks what Kai's new ability is. He turns away without answering. Kanaki gets furious. She came here worried about him, so what's with that attitude? Kai suddenly asks Kanaki if she's really worried about him. Kanaki is a blushing, shy girl, stammering and turning bright red. Kai stops listening and tells Kanaki to go home quickly. He's going to keep testing the new skill. Kanaki tries to say she'll go with him, but suddenly smoke rises nearby, and monsters pour into the area where the students are. Midu and Nagas have no choice but to fight. They don't know what's happening. Kai and Kanaki run as fast as they can back to their dormitory, which is on fire. Kai asked a student what had happened, but the student didn't know either. He woke up because he saw fire and monsters everywhere. Kai quickly concluded that this was the work of humans. The ringleader must be somewhere around here, and they had to find and catch him. Suddenly, a voice praised Kai's deduction, saying it was very good. It was Steady, sitting perched on the wall. Kai was wondering how these monsters could have gotten inside, but now it all made sense. These were all monsters from Steady's laboratory. Teddy didn't deny that these monsters were her cute test subjects, and she had given them some drugs to make them stronger because they were too weak before. Kai questioned Steady's purpose. What benefit would killing the hero candidates bring? Steady calmly replied that it was an order from higher-ups. She was ordered to eliminate the hero candidates. Even if she lost her current position by doing this, she didn't hate the students, but she would kill them all. Kazaki sweated nervously. Could the order from higher-ups really be from Leonora? Steady stood up and denied it, saying she had nothing to do with that old fox. It was an order from the Demon Lord. She was the Demon Lord's spy, and if she did well, she would get a researcher position with the Demon Lord. Kai frowned. Could it be that she had sunk so deep into darkness that all she cared about was researching monsters? Steady pushed up her glasses and ranted that humans couldn't understand the true nature of the mysteries they called monsters. The dormitory was still burning fiercely. Steady stood proudly on the wall and ordered all the monsters to charge forward. Kanaki used a spell to freeze all the monsters, and Kai's opponent was Steady herself. However, Kanaki's spell had no effect on her, and the monsters immediately broke free from the suppression. To Kanzaki's astonishment, Teddy laughed loudly and said that as a scientist, she obviously knew how to deal with rebellious monsters. Then the smaller monsters also charged all at once. Kai told Kanzaki to fall back. He grabbed a knife and cut through one by one wherever he went. Monsters were slashed down. But these were just a few examples. There were still many more of them. Whenever one jumped out, Kai punched it immediately. Even the huge oxer took a kick and fell flat on the ground. The remaining monsters began to be cautious of Kai's strength. Seeing this, Steady quickly shouted, "What are you doing? That guy doesn't even have a powerful guardian spirit." Kai began to activate his evaluation Steady Archimedes, age 28. Everyone always thought Steady was female, but in fact he was a handsome guy. Attack, defense, agility, endurance, mana, all at peak level. Status half-demon, magic domination skill level 1. Now Kai knew why Kanzaki's domination spell didn't work. The monsters were taking orders from someone with stronger magic. Strong demons could use domination magic to control monsters. Steady whistled to give an order to someone, saying he would end it before that happened. Immediately, a huge fireball flew down from above. Kai looked up to see a dragon breathing fire from its throat. This was Steady's trump card, the fire dragon. Although he didn't want to play his strongest card, the situation left him no choice. The fire dragon whipped its tail hard against a chimney pillar, causing rocks to fall on Kanzaki's group. They couldn't dodge. All they could do was stand there helplessly. Luckily, Kai was quick enough to save her. The dragon was preparing to attack again. Kai asked Narumi to take Kanzaki away from there. The fire dragon flapped its wings and charged at Kai. Thanks to his skills, he spotted its weak point, the reversed scale on its neck. He immediately slashed hard at it, but the skin was too tough. Kai couldn't cut it with his current attack strength. The situation was starting to reach a dead end. Suddenly, Arashi appeared towering on a rooftop, saying, "Look the perfect size to be my prey." Then he jumped down and kicked the dragon's knee. However, it didn't affect it at all. The fire dragon got even angrier and unleashed a massive stream of fire. Arashi rolled on the ground to put out the fire. Kai sighed helplessly. He had been careless. Still, it must be admitted that Arashi is very strong. Kai stepped forward. Now the two of them had to work together to defeat it. Arashi arrogantly said he didn't need help. However, Kai insisted he could see its weak spot but didn't have enough strength to attack it. Arashi responded to Kai's request for cooperation, "So you want me to help? I don't team up with rookies. There's no time to argue." The fire dragon began attacking with its tail. Both of them jumped at the same time to avoid being knocked down by its huge tail. Then the dragon continued to breathe fire, aiming straight at Arashi. Arashi gradually became powerless with his current ability. He couldn't defeat it alone. Finally, he had to accept Kai's offer to cooperate. Kai said its weak spot was a reversed scale on its neck. He would attract its attention. Arashi would target a blast on that scale. For this young man, that was very simple. Teddy stood above, shouting, "Why are you just standing there like a statue? Kill them!" The fire dragon obeyed its master's command. It showed off its power even more. One roar could blow everything away. Kai began attracting its attention, then distracted it by running away. "I think you should dodge this way and that to both catch it off guard and stay alive." This was the moment. Arashi ran fast toward that reversed scale and punched it hard with all his fury. The fire dragon hit at its weak point, obviously couldn't resist. It screamed in pain. The fire dragon was completely defeated. To Steady's astonishment, Arashi looked smug after defeating such a formidable monster. Calmly looking up, he said to Steady, "You've lost your trump card. So are you going to continue?" Steady, though very panicked, loudly said he still had many other kinds of monsters. But all of his monsters were lying all over the ground. The other students' group had put these monsters into an eternal sleep. Teddy, frightened, tried to run but was blocked by Narumi. He slipped and fell because of carelessness. Of course they wouldn't let him die. Kai pointed a knife at his face. It was midnight, and they had spent too much time fighting, but there were some things he wanted to ask. Teddy was scared out of his mind and begged for mercy. He would say everything he knew, but some force wouldn't let him survive. It immediately took Teddy's life brutally. That might have been a curse. Kai had read about something like this in the library. It seems they cursed him so that if he tried to reveal information, the curse would take his life. Kai was silent, thinking the Demon Lord's army would continue to be a threat to everyone. One day after Steady's incident, Leonora, upon hearing the news, looked saddened. She hadn't expected such a thing to happen while she was away. Narumi spoke up. "I was the one who assigned Steady the task. Aren't you going to apologize?" Slowly the woman smiled. "That's true. I apologize for the misunderstanding. Let me correct myself. I didn't think a weak, monsterized relative could cause so much damage. That's what I mean. Everyone was very surprised by those words. She meant both knew Teddy was a demon spy, but still let him run wild. Leonora laughed mockingly, as if nothing had happened. I told you training from now on would get tougher, and what happened was just part of it. A student very angry because everyone almost died. He set fire to everything while everyone was asleep. However, Gaia immediately interrupted, "Don't be childish. It's your fault for not being alert at night." No one else could say anything more. Only Kai felt the man was right. They hadn't noticed the monster until it was too late. But it's still unreasonable to expect more from average high school students. Now we move on to the next main topic. The students here will get to visit the royal capital. The focus is on revealing the hero candidates. A public parade will be held in the royal capital. The students will be on stage as the lead performers. Night has fallen. Gaius orders the soldiers to return and rest until sunrise. Everyone sits around the campfire talking. Arashi thinks the number of soldiers accompanying them will be about 30, and judging by their appearance, they don't seem special. The subordinate thinks his big brother could take them all down with a single punch, but he has a different thought. A good opportunity has come. Usually there are many soldiers around, but now there are only 30 left. Their numbers already outnumber the current soldiers. And those soldiers seem to be underestimating Arashi's group. They would never imagine these students could be rebels. Arashi declares today is the perfect chance to take action. Then he calls Narumi's group together. Kai, who is eavesdropping, nods in agreement. There are very few soldiers around now, and they're not professionals either. But that's because Leonora and Gaius are confident they can control all the students here. He needs more time to find out why they're so confident. Kai goes to find Midu and suggests they talk. After confirming that all the ungarrisoned soldiers have returned to camp to sleep, Arashi's and Narumi's groups begin to act. But they are unexpectedly stopped by Midu's group. I heard you're trying to kill Leonora and Gaius. When asked who said that, Midu just insists he overheard it while passing by Nagas, thinking it's crazy. No matter how annoying those two are, you shouldn't take their lives. Arashi retorts, you're the crazy ones. We have to treat her like a loyal dog, until Midu understands how these friends feel. But if we do that, things will go too far. There must be a better way to handle it. Arashi thinks those words are just talk. Midu's plan is to become Leonora's pawn and defeat the Demon Lord. In return, he'll make her guarantee everyone's safety. Arashi doubts you really think I'll listen to you. Midu firmly insists I believe when I'm stronger, I'll have the power to negotiate. However, the gruff young man still thinks that's impossible. Moreover, he doesn't need a weakling like that protecting him. Negotiations fail. Arashi doesn't want to listen to weaklings and just wants to return to his own world. Midu declares if you really want to do that, we'll stop you. So the two sides clash. Arashi's speed is truly too fast. Midu is pushed back. Arashi is always confident in his strength. He can't believe his opponent could block that attack. At that moment, two soldiers pass by on patrol. Midu quickly explains they're just discussing something. The two soldiers don't suspect anything and only tell them to go to bed early so they can get up early tomorrow. So Arashi's plan falls apart. He grits his teeth in frustration. Damn it! I've had enough of these weaklings. Talking to them is useless. The next day at Dagaris Cathedral in the royal capital, the students currently present here. This place is lively and bustling, though crowded, still not as crowded as Tokyo. The locals are curious about the large carriage accompanied by a group of young escorts behind it. Gaius shouts loudly, "Make way, clear the path for Archbishop Leonora and the hero candidates quickly." The curious crowd stands aside on both sides. From their understanding, the hero candidates are those chosen by God. The people warmly welcome the heroes, cheering as if meeting celebrities. Midu also waves back. Only Arashi's group looks sullen and annoyed, like they have a stomachache. Kai guesses these people place a lot of trust in the hero candidates, even believing these heroes will save them. This gives Kanzuki a slightly uncomfortable feeling. The blonde, curly-haired man is Saint Knight Janus. He is the representative giving the welcome speech to the hero candidates who have arrived at the royal capital. Take a little rest and regain your strength after the long journey, everyone. Everyone was able to lie on a soft bed after a long time lying on the ground. The female students also bathed in hot springs, feeling relaxed and refreshed as if they had come back to life. The other students ate as if they had been starving for a long time. The maids couldn't bring the food fast enough. Meanwhile, Midu was still actively training while Kai observed his surroundings to learn more about this place. However, there were too many guards here moving around the castle freely, like that would be very dangerous. Suddenly he saw the knight who had led everyone on the tour standing and talking to two soldiers. One soldier asked, "Where are the hero candidates, Janice?" "They're probably resting in their rooms." The soldier continued to ask, "Is it true those kids were chosen by the Creator God?" "If you say these students are much stronger than ordinary teens, then yes, that's true," the other soldier said. "I'm worried about the Demon Lord's minions. Having hero candidates in the royal capital will surely provoke them into action." The other soldier agreed. "There have been many disturbances lately. I think we should be more cautious." Rennis replied cheerfully, "No need to worry, the hero candidates will protect the royal capital right. It's training time now, let's go." Now Kai had even more questions running through his mind. He thought he should visit the town. That night at a pub in town, a fully covered boss came in and asked the bartender to make him the best beer and snack. Nearby, a fat red-haired guy and a blonde guy were sitting and chatting about the hero candidates. The redhead thought those hero candidates were no different from spoiled kids, but the blonde guy firmly believed in the God's choice. Kai realized that in this country the church held great power. The people feared the church more than the king or the nobles. The beer was brought over, and he took the chance to ask the bartender a few things. He agreed. "The thing is, I just arrived in this country and don't know much. I've heard a lot about the Demon Lord's minions. Who are they exactly?" The old bartender scratched his head and replied, "You know this country is at war against the Demon Legion, right? Currently, the Demon Lord, the leader, is the most terrifying monster. It's said humans can also be seduced by the overwhelming power of the Demon Lord. Those are the Demon Lord's minions. They rampage across the country and just a few days ago blew up a noble's mansion." From Kai's understanding, they were basically a terrorist organization. He walked around town thinking, the hero candidates have to defeat the Demon Lord, so having students in the royal capital will definitely provoke the Demon Lord's minions. That's why everyone looked very worried. Suddenly Kanaki rushed over anxiously. "Finally found you." "Where have you been?" Kai said. "I was gathering information because they're in a completely unfamiliar place." Kanzaki knew this, but was very worried about him going alone because it was very dangerous. Kanzaki even enthusiastically wanted to accept his help. However, he flatly refused. "I can handle it myself, just stay quiet and stay with the others." Kanzaki wasn't willing to be so harshly rejected. "You should be glad I'm willing to help you." Kai sighed. "Well, let her help a bit then." He said, "I need information about the royal capital. Can you talk to people in town?" She immediately agreed with a bright flower-like smile. No sooner said than done, then happily and excitedly she went off to do the mission. Nearby, a mysterious, fully covered man was watching their every move. He gave a sly smile. After walking around the town and returning, Kai still didn't get any useful information. But at least he learned about the existence of a new enemy. Suddenly he heard quite a loud noise nearby. Such a late night, and there was noise coming from inside this room. Kai entered and saw that many of his friends were gathered here. He went over to ask what was going on. A female student said Kanzaki had disappeared. He goes to ask what's going on. A female student says Kanzaki has disappeared. Onya was the first to notice because the two of them shared a room. Everyone is actively searching for her, but no one knows where she went. Kai sighs. So that's it, no one knew she disappeared too. Makes sense, since Kai doesn't share a room with anyone. Kai doesn't mention that Kazuki has entered the town. He lied that he knew nothing and had been sound asleep in his room earlier. Midu turned to everyone and said, "Listen up, it's pretty certain she's not in the castle. The sun is about to rise, let's go out and find her." Although Nagas once thought they should leave Kanzaki alone, the situation now was that they had to follow Midu's lead. It was quite dark now. Everyone in town was still sound asleep. Kai began searching for Kanzaki, guessing she would only be nearby. Suddenly, he saw something peeking on the ground. It was Kanzaki's student ID card. While he was intently examining it from all sides, several cloaked men with swords suddenly ambushed him. Kai dodged lightly like a feather, then grabbed one by the wrist and let them stab each other. He frantically dealt with them one by one. The remaining man, seeing his comrades die gruesomely, turned pale with fear and trembled. Kai looked at him with a sharp gaze. "Your skills are terrible. Whether you're a spy or a warrior, you look just like an ordinary person. What's your purpose here?" The man was very scared but refused to say a word. This made Kai even angrier. He declared he would make him reveal everything he knew. Meanwhile, Kanzaki was locked up in a mysterious place. Her hands were tied on both sides. The soldiers there kept mocking her. She firmly insisted that even if asked 100 or 1,000 times, her answer would remain the same. She had nothing to say to these trash. They were just trying to get some information about the heroic candidates. Because of her resistance, the two men tore off her outer garment. Kanzaki's face turned as red as a gak fruit, but she still couldn't do anything. Despite being humiliated, Kanzaki did not reveal any information about her teammates. Kai had also been present and observing for a while. He used his skill to activate an assessment. They were just ordinary people, but it was hard to believe Kanzaki was kidnapped by these guys. Then he threw 2 knives, stabbing both of them in the temples without missing. He then stepped out to unlock Kanzaki's chains. She seemed very embarrassed for not being able to help and causing more trouble. Kai didn't care, just reminded her not to make noise. Other things could be discussed later. They had to escape now. But before they could leave, someone stepped out of the shadows. Suddenly, that person charged straight at the two of them and swung hard at the ground. Luckily, Kai was quick and quickly stepped back. The attacker was Janus, the Holy Knight. He wanted to eliminate all the heroic candidates under the Knight's orders. His true identity was the general of the Demon Lord's army invading this country. Kai also confirmed that the entire capital was surrounded by the Demon Lord's army. This country was facing extinction. Venus declared she would end it faster by killing all the heroic candidates. Then both prepared to fight, one wielding a knife, the other a sword. Kai began evaluating his opponent, Janus Walter, 28 years old male. Attack, defense, agility, endurance, and energy all ranked B. Normal condition. Sword fighting skill level 3, fire. Magic level 3. All of his skills were at level B, proving he was well-rounded and should not be underestimated. Janus charged the attack first. Kai jumped back to dodge. He raised his hand with a red magic circle and commanded fireballs to burn the target. Many fireballs shot out from the magic circle. This was fire magic. Kai had no choice but to fly up to the middle hill to avoid it. Janus took advantage of Kai hovering mid-air, unable to dodge, and tried to land a deadly sword strike. Kai threw his knife at him, but it was completely useless. His sword suddenly ignited and turned into a flaming sword. It seemed like the match was coming to an end with Kai losing, but unexpectedly, just after one word, he got hit right in the forehead with a metal candy. As a result, that guy went to sell salt faster than expected. Kai looked at his gun. He didn't plan to use it in this situation because the ammo was limited. But he was right, he shouldn't have jumped into Kaohsiung. Kai needs to learn how to fight enemies head-on if he wants to survive in this world. At this moment, Kanzaki crouched behind the wall and poked her head out, wondering, is that a gun? This is standard equipment for an assassin. Kanzaki felt really scared knowing someone in her class had been carrying a gun all along. But anyway, she had to thank him for coming here to save her. Kai shyly denied it was just a coincidence. Kanzaki wasn't able to use her dominion power. She didn't know why, but she couldn't use magic while handcuffed with those restraints. After being released, everything returned to normal. Those handcuffs were truly special. Kai took the enemy's cloak and put it on Kanzaki to make her feel less awkward. Then they would leave this place together. Kanzaki quickly turned back to report that those people just tried to attack everyone in the class. However, he already knew this in advance. Someone Kai caught when arriving here revealed everything. It was the only coward who survived that failed raid. He was scared of being kicked out begging for his life. Whether he lived or died depended on his mouth. He hurriedly knelt down, saying he was just following orders from his superiors. They said the hero candidates are enemies of the Demon Lord and that those candidates must be dealt with as soon as possible. Kai questioned him about Kanzaki, but he quickly confirmed that the girl was still alive. They decided to keep her as a hostage to attack other hero candidates. That's why he had information about Kanzaki's place of imprisonment. Surprisingly, that guy wasn't killed by the deadly curse like Steady. That's why Kai didn't think this was the work of demons. Kanzaki was very sad because there were still fanatics like that now. She had once thought that people in this world were her allies. Kai sighed, reminding this trusting girl not to be fooled by people like that. It's because of being careless that she got handcuffed like that. Kanzaki insisted it wasn't just her. Anyone would trust them because they answered all the questions. When she tried to find out more, Kai thought it was because of another reason. Their enemies weren't only demons but could also be humans. Kanzaki grumbled and turned away. I regret it so much, okay? It's my fault for being careless. At this time, Midu also hurried over, thanking God you're okay. I'm so glad you're safe. Did Kai find you? Kai didn't mention that. He just wanted the two of them to talk right now. Seeing Kai's serious attitude, Midu realized something had happened. Kai began to tell everything about the demon cult. It's a group of fanatics who worship the demon lord and want to oppose humanity. And the hero candidates here are their targets. Midu pondered, "What's wrong with humans? The problem is we can't tell who our enemies are, unlike monsters. That's why everyone needs to be on high alert." Midu suggested reporting this to Leonora. Hopefully she will strengthen the defenses. Kanaki thought it wasn't feasible. If they told her to do that, she would probably just tell everyone to handle it themselves. First, everyone needs to be gathered to decide the next course of action. Right now, everyone is scattered, searching everywhere. Suddenly, an explosion came from behind the building. Many members of that cult were surrounding them from their side, armed and ready to devour the three of them alive. Now there's no doubt exactly what they wanted was to take the lives of the hero candidates. The three were ready to fight. Other groups of students were also being surrounded. According to the assessment, they are all humans. There are a total of 6 of them. Although their stats are lower than Janice's, fighting them is still a challenge because they are warriors. After the leader shouted a simultaneous attack, they all charged in together. Kanaki used domination magic to freeze them all in place. Then Kai would throw knives straight into the middle of their foreheads. Midu was worried because they were humans, not demons, and shouldn't be killed like that. But for Kai, he makes no distinction between demon or human because they're all enemies. Even though they were humans, while they were still arguing, one of them attacked from behind. Midu immediately turned around and used his sword to block. He still couldn't bring himself to kill, even trying to persuade with words. But the other guy didn't care about his own kind. He said they did everything for their master. Kanaki intended to step in to help, but was stopped by Kai. Kai wanted Midu himself to do it to save himself. Immediately, Midu decisively broke the other's sword in half. This was probably his final mercy. "If you surrender, I'll spare your life." "Drop your sword!" However, the other guy still screamed wildly. "How dare you mock me, you damn hero candidate!" Then he crazily charged up and lightly slashed Midu's arm. Afterwards, he laughed gleefully as if he had just achieved a great feat. At that moment, Midu could no longer show mercy. One clean slash cut across his body. The man trembled on the ground in a pool of blood, but still refused to surrender. Kai said, "Finish him off." But Midu wanted to leave him there to fend for himself. However, Kai insisted it was necessary to be sure the threat was eliminated. Midu couldn't understand how his friend could calmly say such things, since the man in front of them was human after all. "Midu, that's your choice. While we're standing here arguing, the whole class is under attack. Aren't you going to help everyone? You're the strongest in our class." Midu had nothing more to say. Kai continued, "Tell me what's more important, the life of an enemy or the lives of your classmates?" At this point, Midu had chosen what was more important to him. He decisively finished off that man and said he would go save everyone over here. The Arashi group students had also finished dealing with the ambush. Arashi was choking and lifting the last man high, then punched him, flying back to meet his grandparents. He acted ruthlessly true to his nature. Meanwhile, the other students were still struggling in battle. Fireballs burned fiercely, but their numbers were still overwhelming. Nagas wanted everyone to be strong and defeat them one by one. But the other students hesitated to strike because these people were all humans. Taking advantage of this, the cult members continuously attacked the girls. Nagas felt helpless watching this. At that moment, Leonora appeared and said, "Should I let you all pass the test or not?" Leonora's appearance made those men panic. "You bastard, you're the saintess, right? And you know the hero candidates are under my command. So, naturally, I'll come to their aid when they're in danger. Isn't that right?" The man still shouted back, "You don't even have knights guarding you, and you're going to rescue them. Do you think we're a joke?" To Leonora, these guys were just pawns, seduced by the demon lord's power. She didn't even consider the people here true enemies from the start. This insult provoked them. They all charged at once, but were immediately immobilized by a golden light. This magic was similar to Kanaki's. Leonora said not to compare her power to that. Her dominion magic was superior in every way. Nagas wanted to know why she saved everyone. "Didn't I say I would let you all pass the test? Still, I'm happier if you handle this on your own. Consider protecting your subordinates the duty of the superiors." A dying man, trembling, crawled over to grab Leonora's skirt. "Don't abandon us. What do you plan to do with us?" "Oh, I'm sorry you're still alive, then everyone kill them all." This order stunned everyone into silence. Then the bodies of the students moved on their own. Each person held a sword that automatically stabbed straight down into the dying people on the floor. Despite the female students' fear, the swords did not stop. Kai and Kanaki observed the entire situation from the rooftop. He realized this was a level 3 domination magic much stronger than Kanzaki's domination power. Leonora can control many people at once. Its power and range are on a completely different level. Everyone needs to find a way to counter this ability. That night, 12 hours after the demon cult's attack, the students gathered. The female students were in very bad shape. They were truly shocked. Narumi said resentfully that she would not forgive Leonora for controlling others and forcing them to kill. It was truly cruel. Nagas was also controlled but only felt uncomfortable. She knew it would be much harder for others. She took all the blame on herself. Midu also blamed herself for not stopping it in time. Everyone encouraged Midu because he had saved many people. Kazaki also blamed himself, saying if he had arrived earlier, things would have been different. Kai coldly said that even if they had come earlier, nothing would have changed. None of them were strong enough to fight Leonora. Previously, the three split into 2 groups after defeating the attackers with Midu. Doing so could save as many classmates as possible. As a result, the 3 saved a few groups but couldn't get there in time to save Nagas and the others. The demon cult probably won't be the last time Kai encounters them. But witnessing their general Zenith being destroyed, they might not act again for a while. Moreover, there was a more important matter to focus on right now. Kai turned to Kanzaki and asked, "Can you come with me for a moment?" He led her into a room and closed the door. This made Kanzaki blush shyly. However, Kai coldly said to find a way to counter Leonora's domination magic, "I want help from someone with similar power like you." Kanzaki pushed aside her embarrassment and asked, "So do you have a plan?" Kanzaki replied, "First, dominate me for a day." After the hero candidates defeated the demon cult, the kingdom held a large parade to celebrate their summoning. This showed that after the hero candidates displayed their strength against the demon cult, they were welcomed with open arms by the citizens of the royal capital. Facing such a joyful atmosphere, Kai doubted whether this was the scenario Leonora had pre-planned for everyone. If that was true, she was more dangerous than he had thought. Everyone gathered outside the city gate. Leonora spoke, "It seems everyone is here very good. I want all of you to return to Alpha Temple City. Alpha Temple City is where the students were summoned to. It might be territory under Leonora's control." Leonora would not go with them. She had to handle some issues related to yesterday's events, and Gaius would be in charge of caring for the hero candidates. Naga spoke. "I guess we can go back, but the dormitory we stayed in was burned down." She knew. Suddenly, Nagas caught Naomi's frightened expression. She approached to ask, but Naomi said she was fine, though her appearance and face said otherwise. Leonora suddenly spoke, "Is there something wrong?" Her voice scared Nami so much she slipped and fell. Luckily, Nagas quickly ran over and caught her. After that, Leonora said she would take her leave first. In a daze, Nami kept telling her friend to stop. Leonora left with a mysterious smile on her lips, glad to hear that. "See you all next time." The other students seemed unhappy with her behavior, but right now no one can do anything. Night has fallen and everyone continues to gather around the campfires. The Arashi group hasn't given up and still wants to carry out their plan. Kai realizes this because Leonora is not here and there are only 30 soldiers far weaker compared to the hero candidates. That's why this is the best chance to kill Gaius. In this situation, there's no reason to stop them. For now, just sit back and watch the show. Narumi is in charge of taking Gaius to a remote place under the pretext that a monster resembling a dragon has appeared. But when they arrive, he seems confused. Strange, I clearly saw it somewhere around here. This area lies along the road leading to the royal capital. It would be very dangerous if a real dragon lived here. Gaius plans to return to report this urgent matter and gather the hunting team. Suddenly, Narumi points forward, drawing all of his attention there. Taking advantage of this, Arashi launches a surprise attack from behind with a devastating explosion. The distance was too close. Luckily, Narumi escaped in time, or he would have been hit too. Gaius is injured, blood flowing over one side of his face. Arashi stands up, brushing off his clothes. Even my highest-level firepower wasn't enough to kill him. He's as tough as a leech, but killing stubborn bastards is my specialty. Arashi puts on a tough front before the seriously injured old man. "You know we lured you here, right? Of course, we set a trap just for you. You need energy to defend yourself, but that attack still seriously injured you, didn't it?" Gaius didn't expect these brats to use such cheap tactics to ambush him. No matter how they're judged, Arashi's only goal is to kill him, so he doesn't care about tactics. Regardless of judgment, it doesn't matter. Seeing he's surrounded by other students, Gaius stands up, grips his sword tightly, and prepares to fight. Arashi immediately orders the other students to advance. Don't hold back against him. Make sure he dies here. Gaius knows there's no way to stop these reckless students, so he decides to shoot a flare into the sky as a distress signal. Kai and those nearby see it too. He knows things are getting more difficult. Arashi accidentally ruined everything. Nearby soldiers realize that this is a call for help. They start looking around and notice Gaius hasn't appeared for a while, raising suspicion. Could he be under attack? Everyone quickly whispers to check the light source, but Kai appears and takes down one soldier with a knife. He knows they have no real grudge, and he doesn't hate them. But if you're a side character and a soldier, you're doomed. Other soldiers see this and rush to attack, but end up meeting the same grim fate. One by one, they fall. The survivors turn pale. Why would a hero candidate do this? Kai approaches and presses the knife to a man's neck. Do you think you have time to ask questions? Without another word, a knife slashes through. Blood sprays like rain. Meanwhile, Gaius is still surrounded by the group of students. Two young men rush forward simultaneously, but he blocks them. Narumi uses a wind spear, and another student immediately passes power to his teammate. Gaius suddenly scatters, but the remaining soldiers fly out to dodge the spear. Another student attacks, but his speed is too slow compared to Gaius. Gaius tries to punch back with his sword, but it's useless. The steel bodyguard has made his body as hard as concrete. Those three bodyguards cracked and broke his sword. Next comes Arashi's fire punch. Gaius is blasted backward, losing an arm, blood pouring like a river. Yet he's still not dead. This old man is really tough. Narumi realizes that the light earlier was a distress signal, and he's trying to buy time for the soldiers to arrive. But suddenly Gaius spoke up. No, it's no longer necessary. Leonora appeared suddenly from behind, trapping him against the wall, right? On Gaius's side, everyone was quite surprised to see Kanaki using her power to make the soldiers tie themselves up. She said she was just following orders. Everyone was twice as surprised. Usually she would ignore what others said, but now she was following someone's orders. Kai appeared. Sorry, Midu. She's just following my orders. Kanzaki had captured 7 of them, although a few escaped, but Kai had already dealt with those. Midu realized his friend was killing people again. Kai calmly replied, Yes, I killed them. I didn't let a single soldier live except those here. Midu wanted to know why he had to do that. Because I'm sure Arashi and his group are busy fighting Gaius, so I thought I'd handle all these small fry. That's why no one had seen Arashi and his group. Nagas just realized this was the rebellion plan they had discussed earlier. Midu was very surprised. He had thought Kai was his teammate, but now he was cooperating with Arashi. However, Kai only does what he wants, and more importantly, what needs to be done now is to find Arashi's group, not bicker here. Midu immediately ordered everyone to quickly stop Arashi and his group from causing more chaos. On Gaius's side, he admitted this was a truly embarrassing scene. He couldn't resist his age anymore. So Leonora had returned, and everyone began to worry about what to do next. For someone like Arashi, there would be no other choice. After everything, he wouldn't just accept running away. Everyone realized the woman in front was the one controlling everything. Leonora calmly said, Of course there are conditions that must be met. If you store enough energy to resist, that's fine. But you all rely on guardian spirits and aren't used to controlling your own energy, so in a way you are all weaklings. That's why I can control everyone. Arashi felt this woman was despicable. He bet she couldn't win if everyone fought with all their strength. Leonora just laughed. What a cheap provocation. Fine, I'll handle this alone. I will break your fangs. Hearing this, Gaius began to worry that Leonora would use her power to enslave them. That's a bit much. Leonora didn't care. She knew she was the holy maiden and she would love herself more than anyone here. Then both sides started Innova. Leonora used heavenly wood, immediately causing stones to rise from the ground and slam into Arashi's stomach. Next was heavenly void, sharp winds like knives, along with a tornado that knocked him away. Arashi lost consciousness. Heavenly fire burned along with heavenly water, drowning the opponent until suffocation. The result was also unconsciousness. Despite being at a disadvantage, Arashi still loudly challenged, You think you've won, you damn woman? At this time, Midu's group arrived and stopped the fight. Arashi knew this kid wanted to stop him recklessly, but for him to be stopped, it had to be with power. Arashi hated Midu's pacifist method. Even others in Arashi's group couldn't trust those below. However, Nagas completely agreed with Narumi, but instead of acting alone, wouldn't it be better if everyone worked together? Although there were still objections to violence, they made Midu think. Leonora broke the atmosphere. In this situation, and you all are still arguing. At this moment, everyone must take responsibility for starting the rebellion. Do you think I will forgive you if someone steps up to bear the rebellion right now? That means Leonora will show no mercy. She used heavenly wind to blow everyone away. Narumi tried to resist, but it was useless. Leonora's tornado was naturally stronger, pushing Narumi down, then sweeping everyone away together. Everyone suffered a heavy shock and pain. Midu watched worriedly, but Arashi reassured that no one would get hurt, so stay calm. Arashi shouted loudly, "If you want to protect everyone, you must change yourself first. Everyone will die if you keep going like this." At this point, there was obviously no other choice. Midu had to pick up the sword and fight. Naga's and her flames were strongly in agreement as well. Even the elder couldn't keep calm anymore. One by one, the other classmates also agreed with this only choice, although they didn't like it much. So Leonora would have to fight against the group of hero candidates. She was very confident she would show these kids the difference between the two sides. On this side was Kai's group along with Kanzaki. Kanzaki didn't know what the two of them would do next. Kai was terrifyingly calm. Once Leonora used magic to enslave them, that's when he would act. So until then, the only thing to do was to trust them. On Midu's side, they faced the full assault of the hero candidates. Gaius, despite being gravely injured, stood up to protect the Saintess. Even though he knew he wasn't strong enough, he was still Leonora's knight at this moment. Seeing this, Leonora helped heal his wounds. Immediately, the wounds on his arm also healed. Gaius was strong again like before, even stronger than before. The Narumi group had struggled hard to get through everything just to eliminate him, which now seemed like all their effort was wasted. Nasa encouraged everyone that with their current strength, they could also defeat them. Leonora was very calm. She was even looking forward to this battle. You all have the freedom to relax anytime you want. For me, this battle is also a test for all of you. But of course, if you can't defeat me, you cannot become heroes. With that, Midu charged forward. The other classmates stood behind to protect him. Midu's sword surprised old Gaius as the kid could easily pierce through his sword. Leonora changed the shape of the stones, making them sharp like knives, and pierced through the target. Those sharp stones flew straight toward Midu. Nagas used molten flames to destroy those stones. Leonora despised everything they could do. Is that all? Despite trying to dodge and slash, those sharp stones still grazed past and left small wounds on Midu's body. Mireille was very angry seeing her hurt their leader. She immediately activated long-distance teleportation. Narumi also activated wind control, /wind. These two powers combined, but they couldn't even touch Leonora before being completely nullified. She said she was protected and loved by God, so those divine knight skills had no effect on her. Kai hid behind a rock, watching him, and began activating the skill to evaluate Leonora. Dagaris, female. Attack A. Defense D. Agility D. Endurance E. Energy S. Level 5 summoning skill. All attribute skills level 4. Level 3 secondary skill. Although defense stats were relatively low, she never needed to use it from the start. A physical attack could pierce through Leonora's defenses, but Gaius would be the one to block the way. Arashi was fighting Gaius. It seemed he was getting tired. He chose to use kicks instead of a destructive blast, but Arashi thought he didn't need to use it against an old, useless man. Then he declared he would send Gaius down a hole. Midu would be in charge of eliminating that woman. Midu agreed, but if he couldn't use divine protection, this sword wouldn't be able to pierce her. A friend threw him another sword. Midu caught it and got into battle stance. Finally, he was ready for a real duel. Midu knew there were people who had placed a lot of trust in him, so by any means he had to defeat Leonora. Leonora stood there calmly radiating a lot of killing intent. Midu kept slashing non-stop. If divine protection didn't work, then none of his friends could help him in this fight. Because the distance between them was too close, they couldn't help either. Although Arashi was very annoyed and restless, the other students had no choice but to stand still and watch. They would become a burden if they joined the battle. At this moment, Gaius strikes with a sword. Arashi returns with a punch. His speed even surprised Gaius, forcing him to stagger backward. Arashi started taunting. "What's wrong, old man? Why are you suddenly so slow? Your wound may have healed, but it looks like you haven't regained your strength yet." Gaius was no pushover either. The old man began to compete fiercely. Meanwhile, Arashi had reached the point where he could no longer use his divine guard. Midu was struggling, no less. Leonora launched a series of huge fireballs continuously. Midu managed to dodge, but the situation was not promising. If this continued, she would crush him. From this distance, there must be some way for Midu to defeat Leonora. Leonora praised Midu's ability, saying, "Not many people in this country could dodge her attacks like that." Midu admitted that no matter how hard he tried to avoid her attacks at that distance, it was only a one-sided battle. He had to find a way to attack Leonora from far away, or get closer somehow, because everyone's divine guard was useless, and they couldn't help any further. Long-range attacks were Leonora's strength. Midu had no choice but to approach her by force. He had to be even faster than before. Even Leonora was surprised by Midu's speed. To avoid being closed in on, she caused the ground to sink. Then the flames engulfed Midu when he lost focus. Up to this moment, that kid was still trying to concentrate all his strength in his body, and now all at once he wanted to use it to attack Leonora. You have to admit this is truly a terrifying kind of talent. However, even now a so-called saintess is still better than a hero candidate. Midu was beaten unconscious. Meanwhile, Arashi was still confronting old man Gaius. With his current strength, he could no longer use his explosive strike. Defeating him would become more difficult. It even seemed to be a dead end. The old man took advantage of Arashi's hesitation and lunged, slashing at him. Arashi took a sword strike straight to the stomach. A bitter outcome for a stubborn youth. Gaius placed his sword on Arashi's shoulder. "You're still just an amateur. This is what happens when you can't use your divine guard." Arashi seemed to awaken. He didn't need the power of the explosive strike just to show the old man how strong he was. Arashi used all his strength to stand up, much to Gaius's astonishment. Then he gave it all back with a gigantic punch. Gaius was knocked flying backward, coughing up broth and lying motionless. Arashi had won. Meanwhile, Midu had regained consciousness. Images of his friends appeared in his mind, reminding him he must protect everyone. His friends were suffering. He didn't want to see them like that. Midu's revival made Leonora frown. She didn't expect this kid to still be holding on. However, she remained confident. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get close to her. But no, Midu really did manage to get close to Leonora. Then he slashed her arm. Blood dripped down. Leonora had forgotten to be cautious. While still confused, Midu appeared again from behind. Leonora panicked and turned around. Midu successfully slashed again. Leonora sensed something very different. It wasn't that she wasn't cautious, but that Midu had closed the distance almost instantly. So that's the skill of shrinking the world when he received the power he wished for. It means God loved him. However, for Midu, he only wished for a power that could help him protect everyone. But no matter how strong, he still couldn't touch Leonora. The sword tip stopped just before touching her neck. Leonora's spell prevented Midu from moving. From the beginning, she never intended to use it, but it was Midu who left her no other choice. Kai was still watching from afar. After the trump card appeared, the crucial moment had come. He turned to Kanaki and said to start. Leonora never thought she would have to use slave magic, but it was Midu who forced her to do so. Midu was stuck, unable to move. Right after the other friends were also suppressed. Leonora was very pleased because everyone was doing quite well. She said she would let everyone pass. Leonora never thought Gaius would lose. Well, even if he's a knight, he can still be replaced. As long as she controls the hero candidates, there won't be any problems. Narumi knew from the start it was a lost battle, but without a countermeasure, they couldn't do anything. Leonora said the reason she was allowed to summon hero candidates was because at some point she could easily control everyone. Otherwise, these boys and girls here would become a threat to the Empire. Suddenly, 3 knives flew toward her. Leonora quickly used heavenly wood to shield herself. She knew Kai had been hiding all along and that he was the one who killed her cute slaves. Kai stepped forward and said, "I'm surprised. I didn't expect you to pay attention to an ordinary person like me." From the start, Leonora found Kai strange. Even though his divine guard energy was useless, he remained calm. That's not the trait of an amateur. Honestly, Leonora was a bit disappointed in Kai. She didn't expect him to appear in an unwinnable battle like this. Kai looked with eyes sharp as knives. Whether this battle was won or lost depended on him. Leonora found this kid interesting because he was very confident. "Then show me what you got." Immediately, Kai was also suppressed by the slave divine guard magic. Leonora was very confident in her magic. As long as she used this type of magic, she could win all battles. But before she could finish her sentence, a bullet pierced through Leonora's shoulder. It was Kai. But no one knew how he could escape that suppression when she clearly used slave magic. Kai fired another shot. Leonora panicked, not knowing what kind of weapon could prevent her from defending. Kai said this was the deadliest tool in his world. He only had a few bullets left, so he really didn't want to use them all. Leonora calmed herself down and told herself to stay cool. She didn't know why her magic had no effect, so this time she would use heavenly fire to burn the enemy. She planned to burn Kai while he was off guard, but only his cloak caught fire. Kai appeared behind her without her noticing, raising his gun and aiming straight at Leonora's head. Just by watching Midu's battle, he knew she wasn't suitable for close combat. Her trump card, the slave magic, doesn't work on Kai. Right now, Leonora had thousands of questions in her head about why this was happening. Clearly, this magic shouldn't be ineffective, but in fact, this was a risky move where Kai gambled whether it would work or not. But in the end, Kai won this gamble. Going back to that night, Kai said he had recently spent time researching magic. He hadn't found any information about slave magic yet, but on the other hand, Kai discovered something important. The skill used first will have priority over the skill used afterward. That means if Kanaki uses domination magic on Kai first, it will nullify the slave magic. That's likely to happen, plus the Divine Guard ability is still much stronger than magic. Kanaki worried because her technique was much weaker compared to Leonora's slave magic. However, technically, it all depends on Kanaki's level 1 domination magic to counter Leonora's level 3 slave magic. Kanaki continued to worry because even so, if she used her skill first, she could still lose control over her own host. However, that possibility is very low. Steady's domination magic has surpassed Kanaki's domination magic. At that time, Kai thought the demons would obey Kanaki's orders, but he was wrong. Simply put, Steady's magic was used before Kanaki used his skill to counter Leonora's enslavement magic. The same principle might work here. It's definitely a gamble because Kai himself doesn't know how far he can move while under domination. At this moment, Leonora also realized Kanaki's help and that Kai was under her domination. Leonora gritted her teeth in frustration, partly from pain, partly because these kids' tricks were really low. It seems everything is over now. Saint Leonora can't use her powers because she's been blocked by these handcuffs. Kai borrowed them from the demon god's followers. Apparently, they can also block Saint Leonora's skills. Kai said he would release her if she sent everyone back to their world, but that's impossible. Leonora can only summon here. Returning to the old world requires a different skill. Kai knows this woman isn't lying, and her records don't mention that skill. He then asked why she said they could return after defeating the demon god. Summoning people from another world requires a huge amount of energy. Leonora begged God to help her successfully summon everyone. In other words, everyone was summoned here by God's will, and after completing the mission, they will likely return to where they belong. Kai confirmed again and we can return. Are you sure that's possible? Leonora confidently answered yes. I have summoned many hero candidates before you, but no one could get close to the demon god. Kai had never heard her mention them or what happened to the previous hero candidates. Most were killed by the demon god's army. Some survived and went somewhere, but no one knows where they hid. Hearing this, who wouldn't lose motivation? That's why Leonora hadn't said anything until now. So you all want to stay here forever. Sooner or later, the demon god's army will attack and you'll have to fight them, which means everyone will have no other choice. To win this battle, we need the kingdom's support. Leonora said she would overlook this if allowed to leave, but Kai said no way he plans to send her straight to hell. But Midu hurriedly stopped him. Kai didn't understand why his friend intervened. Kai thought he had thought it through, but it seems he's still clinging to that naive ideal. Midu said he agreed because he believes she knows how to help everyone return. It's impossible now, but he still wants to keep the hero candidate title. However, they were the ones who started a rebellion, and there's no denying that. Leonora quickly spoke up. Midu is right, I admit I was a bit excessive. Let's pretend nothing happened. That sounds reasonable, but this woman is dangerous. It won't be easy to catch her a second time. Leonora just needs to deal with Kanaki first to become unbeatable, so she will likely do that once released. Midu still fears that if they kill this woman, everyone will be accused of killing the saint. Just make her promise to treat everyone well and release her. Mireille agrees with Midu's opinion. Not everyone is a fighter, and if they become criminals, they can't defeat the demon god. Negus also agrees. Wouldn't it be better to find a way to make her keep her promise? However, Narumi agrees with Kai that no one can trust this woman. Everything has gone this far already. It's best to eliminate her as soon as possible. Midu actually thought the same, but there will be no way back if they kill her here. Kai understands Midu's worry. The safety of the whole class is important to him. Kai is confident he can survive but can't make a careless decision. And after all the opinions, some opposed, some agreed. After all that, Kai still decided to give Leonora a copper coin right in the middle of her forehead, much to everyone's shock. Then he used a smoke bomb to escape. Everyone became more intense as Kai dealt with Leonora before the other students also decided that this could not be forgiven. They believed that Kai always only thought about himself. Only Narumi and Kanaki stood firm like pillars. She couldn't believe he had taken this woman's life. Everything happened exactly as he said. Kai said the main goal was for everyone to kidnap Leonora and learn from her how to return to the real world. If they found out she couldn't do that, Kai wouldn't let Leonora survive. However, Kai understood that even knowing there was no way back to their world, Midu would still protect her. At that moment, Kai would pull the trigger without hesitation and run away. Kai was ready to take all the blame for killing the saint alone. That's why he let a few soldiers escape so they could spread the word that Kai was the culprit behind everything. If they saw him as a criminal, everyone returning home wouldn't be a problem. Kanaki was very worried, fearing things wouldn't go so smoothly. But Kai was very confident. That was when her power became useful. If anything happened, use domination magic to negotiate with the kingdom. He could handle the rest himself. So everything went according to plan and Kai escaped. At this time in the giant castle, a mysterious horned figure sat on the throne. He heard news about the hero candidates, wanderers from other worlds blessed by God. His subordinates had tried many times to eliminate these candidates, but always failed. The horned man said not to worry. What they could do on enemy territory was still limited. Let them be. Sooner or later they would appear and things were getting more interesting. This man was the supreme general of the Demon Lord's army, one of the 4 heavenly kings, king of Windbox. So 2 days had passed since that incident, and Kai was still wandering in the forest. According to the map, he was very close to a city. He decided to climb to a higher spot to observe. Finally found the city. Walking there would take about half a day. Night fell and Kai had arrived at the city walls. A criminal who killed the saintess couldn't enter the city through the main gate because no one knew how he would be treated. Kai decided to sneak in using a rope. After successfully sneaking in, the first thing he had to do was earn some money. Kai got a little money from the soldiers he had killed. However, it wasn't enough. What caught his eye was a small tavern, a better place to make money. Kai went inside and ordered a beer and some food. A drunken customer sitting nearby started a conversation. "I've never seen your face before. Are you a traveler?" "Yes, I was forced to leave my homeland and I'm looking for work." "Are you running away from the Demon Lord's army invasion?" "I'm sorry, although it's a misunderstanding, this misunderstanding is actually good." Kai asked if there was any work around here and whether he needed to reveal his identity. The owner brought a beer and said, "In that case, you should become an adventurer. Adventurers can take any available jobs from the guild. Usually it's about conquering magical beasts, but if you lack skill, you'll be dealt with immediately." However, the owner felt this young man wasn't inexperienced. Kai said if it's magical beasts, he can handle it. Then he asked how to become an adventurer. Becoming an adventurer is simple. You just need to go to the guild in the city center and register. They are in great need of new adventurers, so they won't ask for the participant's identity. The reason the owner knew so much was because he used to be an adventurer, but retired due to a knee injury. That night, Kai stayed at an inn. He might stay there a little longer. Although the receptionist had seen this guest's face, she showed no reaction. After all, there are no image recording devices in this world, so he doesn't need to be overly cautious about this. Kai went to the guild for adventurers. There were many people there, and the atmosphere was lively. He approached the reception desk and said he wanted to register as an adventurer. The receptionist said Kai needed to pay 1 silver coin to register. Kai immediately handed over the money. When asked for his name and origin, Kai made up a different name. The name he chose was Siren, 17 years old. The Demon Lord's army had invaded his homeland, so he drifted to this place. Kai couldn't believe the alias he used in the real world was also used here. The receptionist began registering Kai with that information and stamped it. With this, he completed the registration process. The receptionist continued explaining the system used by the guild. Based on their achievements, adventurers are ranked from A to F. Of course, the higher the rank, the more valuable the rewards. Additionally, high-ranking adventurers can receive more difficult missions. Since Siren is new, he was registered as an F-rank adventurer. He can rank up by completing missions. All missions are posted on the bulletin board. There, she advised him to choose an F-rank mission as his first task. Kai approached the bulletin board. The F-rank mission was to collect various herbs and eliminate goblin monsters. He had never seen such monsters before, so Kai decided to choose this mission. At that moment, a dark-skinned, one-eyed guy and his gang approached to cause trouble. "I've never seen your face before, kid. You planning to tame some goblin monsters, I advise you to stop. For a kid like you, that's impossible. Kai thought to himself, who are these idiots anyway? Are you bored or something that you come here to cause trouble? Kai didn't want to make a big deal, so he calmly replied, "Thank you for the warning. Could you please leave me alone?" The gang was pissed off at being looked down on by a kid. It seemed bullying newcomers had become their pastime. The blonde guy tried to teach Kai a lesson, but Kai was fast enough to block his dirty hand. The blonde panicked and called for backup from his friends. The result was obvious. The whole gang lay unconscious on the ground. Meanwhile, Kai calmly walked away with the mission paper. Turns out this was the ability of a mid-level adventurer. Compared to the hero candidates, they were surprisingly weak. Now the task was to quickly complete this mission. According to the mission info, the goblin monsters were hiding around the forest area. Kai suddenly noticed fresh footprints on the ground. Kai started to follow the footprints. It seemed they belonged to an animal. He suddenly realized something was here and it wasn't alone. They were hiding very well. Could they be goblin monsters? At that moment, a wolf standing on two legs holding a sword suddenly appeared from behind. Kai quickly dodged the sword in its hand. It might have stolen it from a human. Another wolf holding a wooden club attacked stealthily. Kai grabbed a handful of sand and threw it straight into its eyes. He kicked the sword out of the wolf's hand. Then he used the sword to stab it in the chest. Finally, he threw a dagger, cleaning up the two monsters. After finishing, Kai activated his ability. He assessed them as goblin monsters level 22 male. Attack D agility. C strength, C magic, F stealth skill level 1. These monsters weren't harmful at all. Kai thought he could hunt more and earn some money. As a result, he brought a large number of goblin ears as proof that he had defeated them. The receptionist was shocked by the large quantity. She didn't believe a newcomer could act alone like that. For Kai, defeating them was easy, but finding them took too much time. Although he had enough combat skills to fight them, his exploration skills were still limited. It seems being an adventurer is quite complicated. People around started gossiping. Is he really that easily hunting goblins? Could he be a C-rank adventurer from another place? I heard he's still a newbie. Because there are so many, the receptionist. It took some time to prepare his reward. So Kai ended up with a heavy bag of money in hand. He couldn't believe how much money he could make just by killing weak ghost beasts. From now on, the important thing is to cover living expenses. Kai will stay in this city for a while and earn money as an adventurer. If he builds good relationships within the guild, gathering information will be easier. While lost in thought, a tall, dark-skinned young man blocked Kai's path. Observing him, Kai could sense this guy was stronger than others in the guild. The man with a broad face introduced himself as Lai, a B-rank adventurer. He arrogantly said, "How about I tell you I'm the one in charge of managing the guild branch in this city?" It turned out Kai had caused trouble for his subordinates today. Clearly they started it, but those weaklings boasted about being beaten up by an unknown newbie ghost. Without hesitation, Lai declared he would teach Kai a lesson. He charged, throwing punches from all sides. None of them hit, and he gradually lost control, jumping and kicking. But in the end, Kai tripped him, and he fell flat. His speed was quite fast, but not very precise. His big movements exposed many openings, and he got taught a lesson by the young kid. Lai grew more frenzied, but was subdued within minutes. It seemed he wasn't used to fighting humans. After all, an adventurer's main task is to conquer ghost beasts. Lai didn't understand why Kai would mess with his subordinates despite his overwhelming power. Kai said it was all a misunderstanding. "Sit down, have some cake, drink some tea, and listen to my explanation." Eventually, the two sat down, sharing beer and chicken while talking it out. After hearing everything, Lai bumped heads with his subordinates for misleading him. He admitted fault for not doubting those three leopards. Then he made them apologize to Kai. The three leopards quickly bowed their heads and apologized. Since the misunderstanding was resolved, Kai wouldn't press charges. Besides that, Kai had a few questions. Though Lai looked fierce, he was a reasonable guy. "Sorry for my loss. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them." Kai continued. "You know I'm a traveler. The reason I registered as an adventurer is to earn some money for easier travel. But I have another reason." Lai didn't believe a young man with such formidable power could have difficulties. Though not knowing what it was, he still wanted to help. Kai said he was searching for a way to travel to another world. Immediately, everyone's mouths dropped in shock and astonishment. How could that be possible? But the hero candidates also come from other worlds. Indeed, Kai was talking about how the hero candidates travel to the real world. Lai thought, if that's the case, they must use magic, but they don't know much about magic. Kai knew it wouldn't be easy to get this information. He hoped someone might have a clue. Lai scratched his head. Only one person knows about it, the sage Elbana, a goblin who helped this country with his valuable advice. It seemed Kai had heard that name somewhere before. A goblin sage. That's what he had read in a book. There are rumors that goblins live deep in the forest. Only a few goblins survive, and their stories are considered legends. They rarely leave their forest and venture into the outside world. Among those who left and stepped into the outside world was one called the Sage. He has lived over 100 years. Moreover, he is very wise and knowledgeable. They say he is a famous mage who truly understands various spells. Goblins are known to maintain close relationships with spirits to receive magical assistance. Although there is no way for people to return to the old world, it is entirely possible if there is a spell. However, whether the sage is still alive or not, no one knows. They have never heard any rumors about him. Moreover, it seems no one has ever seen him. Lai coughs harshly. Even he doesn't know these things. Then he turns around. Sorry for not being able to give you any useful information. But for you, that information is very helpful. That was enough for him. Kai finished his beer and went back to the inn to rest. Before Kai left, Lai wanted to ask what he would do after learning how to travel to another world. Kai just turned back, smiled, and said, I'll leave that to your imagination. Today, Kai continued to come to claim rewards for new missions. A week had passed, and during that time he had also saved some money. Lai and his gang also grew closer to him. They enthusiastically invited him out drinking, but Kai declined. He had gathered some important information about the sage. His name was Elbana Karet. About 10 years ago, he was an advisor for this country, but has now retired and lives near the western border. That is where this country is fighting against the Demon Lord's army. Kai no longer had a reason to stay in this city, so he decided to go meet the person called the Sage and see how it goes.